All right, traders, welcome to my weekly outlook. Hope you guys are having a great Sunday. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. I want to just jump right into everything and kick off a really good week. Hope you guys had a good trading month in March. As of right now, as of this stream, it's March 31st. So we're going to be closing off our trading month of March this week and then getting into the first trading week of April. So hope you guys are all ready for everything. But just as a little bit of setting expectations, we're going to be going over all of the pairs that are marked off. So even all the different colors, so orange, purple, and red, all of these different flagged pairs we're going to be going over. But just as my normal disclaimer, I need to say before we get into things, keep in mind, guys, that everything that you guys hear on today's webinar is just my opinion, okay? It's just here for informational and educational purposes only, okay? It's not investment or financial advice. It should just be here to help you out. If you have any questions, if you're watching the stream live, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Even if you're just watching the recording, feel free to leave a question in the comment and I will get back to your comments. But other than that, let's just kick it off with the economic calendar. And I just kind of want to cover this week very quickly. It's actually not a super crazy week. We finally have a break from Brexit news. Okay, there's no Brexit news this week, no Brexit votes or anything, at least for a while. Couple things to point out. Okay, there's a lot of red folders. Of course, I'm not going to go over every single red folder, but just a couple of the things that I want to point out in particular is that look out on Monday. We have an interest rate decision for the Australian dollar, okay, from the Reserve Bank of Australia. Now, if you guys remember, there was another interest rate decision actually just earlier this month, the beginning of this month. I think it was, actually, we can look right here. AUD cash rate. Yep, it was March 4th. So just a couple weeks ago, there's an interest rate decision. And I'm going to stick with the same thing that I said about the last interest rate decision from just a couple weeks ago, if you guys remember. And it's that I'm not expecting this to really move the markets too much. So depending on where you are, obviously the time that it comes out is going to be different depending on where you're at, or it might be different depending on where you're at. Make sure you have your economic calendar set to the right time. But I would probably expect the markets not to have a huge reaction to the interest rate decision because they're going to keep it at 1.5%. And same analysis or same kind of bias from the last time, as you can see, they haven't changed interest rates since the middle of 2016. So it's been almost 3 years. So it's pretty much like priced in, if that's the best way to describe it, is that this 1.5% is already well priced in. Markets have obviously been expecting this for a long time. The only thing that might move the market a little bit is the actual rate statement. So that's something to keep in mind. Other than that, there's just other red folders, other high impact news sprinkled throughout this week. A couple purchasing manager indexes, a couple key central bank speakers. We've got Governor Polas from the Bank of Canada speaking a couple things. And then last thing, actually, so you see Wednesday and Thursday is pretty dry. There's no high impact news, but then Friday we come in with non-farm payrolls, okay? So pretty crazy. I don't know about you guys, but March seemed to just fly by. It literally feels like literally just yesterday I was going over the non-farm payrolls, like the economic calendar for the non-farm payrolls for March. But it also probably feels like that because if you guys remember, non-farm payrolls this month was the second Friday in March. It was on March 8th, not March 1st. So that might be why it feels that way. Not really sure why, but yeah. So yeah, that's that for this week for the economic calendar. And I just want to give you guys kind of like a, I just kind of want to recap of my month for you guys. Obviously, if you're a student, you guys know this because you're taking the trades and you're on my daily webinars and you're taking all the same trades I am. But if you're not a student, you just hop on these weekly outlooks to maybe get an outlook. If you don't know, I think you can also see on my MyFX book, which is right here. The link is public, by the way. It's in the description. It's also like in my Telegram. It's all over the place. I keep it very transparent with you guys. I don't know if you can see the exact number of trades that I've placed, but I've taken 4 trades this entire month. So I'm actually in a trade right now. This is actually my MyFX book, and you can see it is updated. I'm in a short on USD CAD. If you're in the Telegram, which I'm assuming if you're watching this, you probably got the link to this inside of Telegram, so you probably saw that I posted. And if you're not in Telegram, there's a link in the description for you to join, completely for free. But I posted on Thursday going into Friday that I would be expecting shorts on pairs that have CAD as the secondary pair. So where the Canadian dollar is the quote currency. So like a pair like USD CAD. That was based off of my bias on oil strength. So I'm currently in up 82 pips. You can see this is 82 pips on USD CAD. I'm up 1.68%. But just what I wanted to point out, what didn't come here really to like brag or boast or anything, but I just wanted to kind of point out like what I believe, like this is defining what trading is, or what proper trading is, or what is not even necessarily what proper trading is, because I don't want to fire shots at anybody else's strategies. But what I mean is, this is really what's realistically sustainable long term, and this is what this is what I think all of you guys should aim to emulate long term if you're going to, if your goal is to do something like what I do, which is trading full time. So but yeah, here's the example. So you can actually see this is March 2019, so this month that we're in. Currently, so closed profit and loss, so closed P&L is 8.19% profit, and then currently like floating P&L is 1.6%. Okay, so basically, like if I was to close the USD CAD trade that I'm in right now, I would be closing this month with basically 10% profits, and I've only taken 4 trades. So I mean, I'm just kind of pointing that out there just to kind of let you guys know. So if either A, you feel like it's been a little bit slow in the Telegram, like I haven't posted a lot, well, that's why. But then B, just to show you that like you don't have to hype things up, you don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to be taking 10 trades a week or anything like that to get profitable returns. Okay. And even though some of you guys might be saying, "Oh, that's only 8%, that's only 10%." Well, when you're working with a decent amount of money, and I mean that's realistic returns, like, and that's what I'm talking about, being consistent long term. Like anybody, I can go out, like guys, I have done it before. I've been trading. I'm going on 6 years of trading. I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt with like taking a $2,000 account and flipping it to like $5,000 in 2 weeks type of thing. Like I've done that and get like 250% gains, and like I've definitely been there, done that. But is it sustainable? Absolutely not. And I definitely don't believe that it's sustainable. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but yeah, a lot of that was that euro yen trade. If you were on last week's Outlook, I covered euro yen. Obviously, if you're a student in the private Telegram, well, we took this trade, you were in this trade, and we made like almost 8% on this single trade. The chart here is showing like almost 10%, but it was actually almost like 8%, a little bit under that. But yeah, boosted us to some higher highs on the MyFX book. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to April, really looking forward to the momentum going into April, and we'll see how this USD CAD trade plays out. But okay, that's that, and let's go ahead and cover the trades. Okay, so I don't want to overwhelm you. If this is one of the first weekly outlooks you've gone over, just bear with me. I mark off red as in kind of more like immediate short-term interest, and then orange I'm using right now to mark off longer-term setups, or just like maybe not even longer term setups, or just trades I've been following for a while. So I guess in naturally that would be longer term setups. And then purple I usually use for my open trades. Okay, so I guess I'll I'll give you guys the main value first, since this is a trade that I'm in, and then we'll go into new setups because I'm still biased towards this moving in the direction that I want it to. So USD CAD, okay? So USD CAD, I took a short at the top here. Also, just to add some transparency, if you guys are new, because I get a lot of questions, not a lot, but I get questions. Sometimes people ask me, do you actually take these trades like yourself? Or you just, you just putting it there? Because anybody could just go in and, I could just go in and post this on here before a webinar, right? Any guru could just do that. But to actually prove that they took the trade, I'm just going to pull up my MetaTrader 4 very quickly. So this is obviously MetaTrader 4. You can see at the top, live account. But most importantly, you can see that the exact trade that is on TradingView you see right here. So literally every single trade that I go over with my students, that I give out with my students, it's not even a signal, or technically like a signal or an alert. I don't even call it that. I mean, we use that word just because it's easy to say, but it's just, I'm just sharing the trade that I took. That's simply what I'm doing. So yeah, and for a lot of you guys, this shouldn't be a big surprise that follow my outlooks and follow my bias. You guys know this is actually, I think, either the third or fourth short, like pretty much perfect short, because I took a short up here back at the end of January. I took a short back in here in February. I think another time in here, maybe not, but then again here. So we've been very patient, but obviously we can see patience is paying off, and you can see my stop loss is at break even. So that's the only difference between what you see on TradingView and on here. So yeah, I'll kind of describe how I'm gonna manage this trade to you guys inside of TradingView. So it's just because it's a little bit easier for me. But so yeah, just remember that just my stop loss is at break even already. I don't recommend chasing this trade, okay? So if you're not a student, you're somebody that just follows my weekly outlooks and you're just seeing this for the first time that I'm short USD CAD, I definitely do not recommend taking this trade and chasing it. Okay, that's part of my disclaimer, saying that this isn't financial advice, guys. I am here to, half of this is one, to prove credibility, right? Like, why there's no sense on getting on here if I'm not a good trader, right? If like I'm not a profitable trader, then probably the information that I'm saying isn't going to be valuable, right? But if I can prove profitability, if I can prove that I make money in the market to you guys, then I think it adds some value behind what I'm saying. So that's reason one that I show this. But then reason two is just, again, to be an open book so that you guys can see what I'm in. And this is my thought process. Like, I'll be honest with you guys. Most of the time, guys, I spend maybe 30 minutes to an hour. Actually, no, a little bit more than that. About an hour to 2 hours before, on average, before these weekly outlooks. Kind of just going over the charts, marking up the charts. Not every single week I get to either, because obviously, since I do these at the same time, sometimes my personal schedule changes a little bit and I have things going on. So a lot of the times I do, I'm doing my analysis fresh on these outlooks. So that's the reason I'm going over this, okay? But so just current structure on USD CAD. Basically, my correlation or my bias for taking this trade all had to do with oil, okay? And this is very key. Like, if you guys are not following oil, you need to follow oil, okay? 100% you need to follow oil, okay? If you're trading USD CAD and you're not following oil, you need to follow oil, okay? So this is my outlook on oil, and I posted a screenshot. Obviously, it had a little bit less data on it because it was a couple days ago, but I posted a screenshot of oil inside of Telegram for you guys, and I posted my idea basically explaining that I think oil is going to continue going higher, okay? And this shouldn't be new to any of you guys if you've been following along for a while. We've been literally watching oil correct and calling this correction on oil for months now, literally months. Since the beginning of this year, we've been calling oil to continue correcting. And I believe that it's going to continue correcting towards the $64 a barrel, which is the 61 naturally is the 61 or the next level of resistance is naturally the 61.8% retracement level, which happens also to be the $64 level. Really just strong bullish momentum. Okay, we have really strong bullish continuation patterns at these highs. You can even see it if you drop it down onto the 4-hour, right? There's this time last week when we dropped to the lows of this structure and then bounced off of the lows. There's some strong demand for this pair down in this area, bounced off, and then now we've proceeded to break the yearly highs on oil and continue its correction. Okay, so this is the root of my USD CAD short. Okay, so that's originally why I shorted USD CAD. So I picked that top on USD CAD. Pretty good risk to reward initially going into it. 50 pip stop loss, 150 pip take profit. You can see right now what I'm sitting in, like about 75 pips in profit. So I'm about halfway to my take profit. Okay. I will expect this pair to go lower, but just kind of what I wanted to point out on the smaller time frame is that you can actually see there's a couple pivot points. Those of you guys that know me with my a couple different indicators that I use, I do like looking at. I look at both the daily pivot point and the weekly pivot point. Just traditional pivot points, by the way. If you're wondering what type, because there's a couple different kinds. A couple different ways you can calculate it, but yeah, I use the traditional. And I see a nice bear flag here. This drop on USD CAD is from some month-over-month GDP that came out on Friday morning. So you can see right here, month-over-month GDP came out better than expected for the Canadian dollar. Okay, so it was initially supposed to come out at 0.1%, came out 0.3%, so higher than expected. Move the markets, honestly, more than what I was expecting to move the markets. I got into this trade about like 12 hours or so before the news came out. I didn't trade the news by any means. It just happened to work out in my favor using good risk management. So that's why on the on my MyFX book here, you see that I'm sitting at 1.5% in profit right now, because even though I'm up 75 pips, I used a 50 pip stop loss. Okay, so if you're able to do that math, right, like a 1% risk with a 50 pip stop loss, well, you're up 75 pips, well, you're up 1.5%. Okay, so that is really good there. And so I'm going to expect USD CAD to continue moving lower. And okay, so here, let me try to collect my thoughts. Also, here's Friday's candle. Also, bearish engulfing candle on Friday, and I'm just gonna keep it as simple as that with USD CAD. Okay, if it breaks above these pivot points, okay, here you can see, here is the daily pivot point, obviously the smaller magenta line, and then the longer line above it that goes all the way to the right of the screen, that's the weekly pivot point. So we're currently below both of the pivot points, which is really good. Obviously, like the short-term trend is showing like signs of this being like a stronger correction, right? It continuing to go lower, the signs of like the beginning of a reversal on USD CAD and it continuing to move lower. That's obviously a thing. For me, as far as managing my trade and securing profits, also, if you're a student, this is giving you some insight on what I'm going to update in the private Telegram as far as managing this trade is if we do break above the weekly pivot point, which also happens to be the daily pivot point, then I'll consider closing the trade and taking my profits early. But for now, I'm going to keep my stop loss at break even where it is and just kind of monitor price action. Where I am right now, it's 5:20 in the evening, so I usually go to bed around 11 or 12, so I'm going to be up for like 6 to 7 more hours. So that gives me still plenty of time to watch price action and just kind of like keep it on the back burner. But yeah, stop losses at break even, but as far as new positions, I'd expect it to go lower. Okay, now I know all of you guys are at different, everybody watching this is at different experience levels, so I'm going to try to make this sound the simplest as possible. But so here we go. So you guys should know that USD CAD generally speaking, because it has the US dollar in it, right? It has a negative correlation to, like, let's say Euro USD, or then we should say it has a pretty much a positive correlation to the dollar index. Now, with what I'm about to say, because they kind of go against each other, my bias on USD. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, okay, let me just say it. Okay, dollar index right now, it looks bullish. Okay, dollar index looks bullish, and I'm not interested necessarily in getting into the market on the dollar right now. So like Euro USD, I'm not really interested in getting into, because we're at a pretty key spot. For the dollar index, we are back at the highs. And if you're just doing analysis like based off of the weekly candle, if you're just looking at the weekly candle or just even looking at the weekly structure, the dollar index looks really bullish right now. Okay, and so just what I mean by that with the USD CAD is naturally you would think that if you're bullish on the dollar index that you'd be bullish on USD CAD. However, right now I think that the strength of oil is going to overpower the strength of the dollar if the dollar even if the US dollar even decides to continue strengthening. And so I'm still bearish on USD CAD. Okay. So dollar index, no surprise here. Those of you guys that were on last week's outlook, this has actually been playing out spot on. Okay, last week's outlook, I told you guys. Dang, I don't have a marker because I'm not doing these on Zoom anymore because we're obviously on YouTube right now. So just kind of follow closely where my cursor is. You guys remember beginning of last week, I called a buy on the dollar index, called sell on Euro USD, and that was pretty much solely based off of just this price action that we see where the dollar index at this support just smashed through the support and then quickly retraced, just showing a strong spring, basically just a strong fake out. And then we saw this beginning of last week, we saw this bull flag on the dollar index, expected more upside on the dollar. And that is what we saw last week. So the dollar continues to rally. Now, I'm more neutral on the dollar, just because it's at the highs, and I'm also more neutral on Euro USD because it's at the lows. Same thing opposite with Euro USD, right? Last week we looked at the price action on Euro USD, called a short on Euro USD. At the time, opposite of the dollar index, right? It had that big spike up, that big rally, and then immediately retraced back to the underside of this channel that we were in. If you guys have been following along with this channel on Euro USD, you can even see the channel right here. You can even see the channel on the weekly right here. This is small descending channel. And it continued to move lower. So last week's weekly outlook was spot on with these pairs. However, this week I'm going to just sit on the sidelines. Although Euro USD does look good for more downside, it is showing confirmation for more downside. It might actually, with the daily, you can actually see this channel that has been playing in with the exception of the fake out the week before last. We're probably going to see it move lower towards the bottom side of this trend line, which also so happens, if you actually stretch out this trend line, you can actually see that it happens to meet with this major trend line going back. Sorry, I know I'm changing a lot of different time frames, so you have to definitely follow along, but there's this long-term trend line going from 2017, like the lows of structure in 2017, and then middle of 2018, end of 2018. Okay, you can also see right here very nicely. Okay, so that's probably where we would see a bounce if we were to continue lower on Euro USD, but yeah, I don't really see an immediate short-term trade on Euro USD. Gold, I see gold also, because this is the reason I have this really marked off, guys, is because what I'm trying to get at is, like, don't be deceived, like, don't be too easily drawn into the market. Euro USD does look like an easy short, dollar index looks like an easy buy, gold looks like an easy short, and we might see that happen maybe short term. but I'm not convinced that the dollar is just going to break out, because basically, like, for gold to continue moving a lot lower, the dollar index has to break out. I don't know if you guys realize that how pivotal this area is for the dollar index once again. So this week is really going to give us the direction, especially on Euro USD. It's going to give us direction if this is a bounce, if we're going to get a bounce at this area, or if we're going to move lower. Naturally, right, I want to say sell Euro USD, buy the dollar index, sell gold. But at the same time, I'm also short on USD CAD, and that's kind of where the beginning of, me explaining things where these tend to generally have a negative correlation. But right now, I'm trading like a positive correlation to Euro USD and USD CAD, so it's kind of interesting. I'm not too interested in Euro USD right now. Okay. So here, let's get into some pairs that I am interested in taking a position on. And if you guys notice, like, here's the thing. Here's if you guys have noticed with my weekly outlooks, is I find it hard sometimes, not every week, right? Some weeks are really good, but you have to keep in mind, guys, I do 52 of these a year, or I try not to miss any. Maybe if I miss one or here or there, I do about 50 of these a year, okay? With me, the way my trading style is and the way I go about approaching the markets is I do not believe that every single day nor every single week is there going to be like a perfect setup. Okay, so on these weekly outlooks, it's hard to expect. Don't expect every single week to just be like some banger, like here's the perfect setup that we're looking for. I am a very minimalistic trader. Obviously, I think you guys probably get the picture of that with me showing my MyFX book at the beginning of this stream. Showing that I've only taken 4 trades this month, yet I'm still profitable. Right? I'm in the 5%. Literally, I'm in the 5% of traders that are actually profitable. Okay, and so there's not always going to be like perfect setups. Okay, but we just have to be patient and let the markets set up. And USD CAD is a perfect example. Like, I waited so long to take a trade. The last position that I took on USD CAD, I believe, was the end of February. So I waited almost an entire month to take a trade on USD CAD. There was a missed opportunity I can see back in here, obviously, like early March when it got up to this area, but missed that opportunity. But obviously capitalized on this opportunity. But I'm a very quality over quantity trader. Okay. Pound yen and dollar yen. Okay, so pound yen specifically looks like we could get some good short-term sell opportunities this week. Okay. Pound yen looks good for a short. Okay, so does dollar yen. Okay, my initial bias, if you guys have been following me for a while, even if you've only been here since, let's say, the beginning of January, you've only been here for a couple of months, since the original correction at these lows, we've been expecting upside on dollar yen. I don't even know why it's not showing up on here, but there's a trade idea that I have where I took a buy on dollar yen at these lows, okay, expecting it to move higher, which hit our take profit, by the way. And then I was expecting at these highs for it to move lower, and I am expecting dollar yen long term to move down. But it goes back to my bias with the dollar index, where I'm just really neutral on the dollar index right now on the strength of the dollar, because half of me wants to just say, put in a buy on the dollar index. It's going to continue to rally this week. It looks like it's going to break this resistance and break the yearly highs and continue its rally. But the other half of me says, okay, David, well, we know that this is a very strong resistance level, so there's a strong chance that sellers are going to step in. And I really haven't seen an argument for the selling side yet. I don't see a reversal pattern on the dollar index yet. It still is very bullish. So that is probably another reason, or that's another reason why on dollar yen I'm hesitant to take a short on dollar yen, is because if the dollar index does continue to rally, then the dollar strength could potentially drag dollar yen up higher. But I think the higher dollar yen goes, if it does go higher, the better the better risk to reward we're going to be getting on a short on dollar yen. Okay, and we saw that channel break the week before last, that correction channel. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll pull it up really quickly. Ideas published. Let me go in here and let me see. Short on GJ. Yeah, you can see right here. So January 17th. Okay, so this is January 17th. This is a position that I took on dollar yen, buy, and we expected it to move up higher. You can actually see it went up to our target, corrected, continued to move up higher. But this is originally when we changed our bias on dollar yen to we were neutral for a while, right? Because there was the flash crash, and then it consolidated for a while, and then we started to see it move up higher, and then that's when I predicted it would correct higher. Okay, so that's a correction on dollar yen. So yeah, I think dollar yen will continue to move lower. Long term, probably higher. Short term, pound yen. If you're a student of mine, you guys rely on my trades. I would probably say pound yen looks like the best for a short-term trade, or that what I might trade as far as like this week or look at getting into. Okay, is pound yen for a short. Okay, and this is nothing new either. Okay, pound yen. I've had a bias to get short on pound yen for a little bit now. For a couple of weeks. All right, I marked off Australian dollar versus the Japanese yen, just to kind of show you guys an idea, for something to think about. Okay, kind of just for thoughts for moving forward. Probably it's not going to happen this week. This is definitely for swing traders, for longer term traders. But we've been having some massive consolidations post flash crash lows pretty much since the beginning of this year. Okay, so literally 3 months we've just been sideways on this pair at these lows. Price action is very flat, so I'm not a big fan of like trading a flat market. I like trading a trending market. But I think that we're going to continue to move lower on Australian dollar yen. I mean, if you guys have been following along, I've been expecting, or my long-term outlook is for the yen to strengthen. Okay, I've said it on a couple webinars this year already that I think safe havens are going to do very well this year. Okay, that's why I said I think gold is going to do well this year. I think the Japanese yen is going to do well this year in particular. So yeah, as we see that long-term yen strength pick up, I think the AUD yen will continue to move lower. Also, the fundamental backing behind the slowing growth in Australia, right? We know that, the two economies that we know right now, I mean, among others, right? I mean, Italy's in a recession. Europe's not doing very well, but we also know that the Bank of Canada is not doing very well right now, and the Bank of Australia is not doing well right now. Okay, so the Australian dollar and the Bank of Canada aren't looking too great, but yeah, and then we also know China too. The slowing in China. We've looked at the GDP, the CPI, and we've seen the growth slowing, and them forecasting slower growth in China can kind of set a tone to sell the Australian dollar long term. Okay, so that's the Australian dollar, AUD yen. Okay, we've already gone over oil and USD CAD. If you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them in the. Oh, here we have them in the chat. Pascal said, "Good morning, Trader Bros. Hope you are well. Wish you a profitable new week, and don't forget about 1st of April today." Yep. Okay, so Pascal, you're probably in an area. You might be in like Europe or something where it's already April. So happy April on your end. Abdul, have you recovered the 70K you lost? Yeah, so that was a loss February of last year. That was recovered last year. Okay, for those of you guys that don't know about that, obviously that's a lot of money lost at one time. But I had an account that was, or it was the same account, but it was over $200,000 that I had at the time, and I had slippage on a trade, and I took a trade, and I was doing some traveling. My economic calendar wasn't set to the right time zone that I was in. I had just flown to a new country and ended up taking a trade, and I lost about 18% on a single trade. And but it wasn't 70K. It was about, well, I mean, 50, 60K. Doesn't really matter. All about the same, right? But that was about 18% of my account at the time. But yeah, that was a pretty unfortunate situation because I only ever lose 2% of my account at a single time. That was like a very, very weird anomaly. But I think every trader, literally, when it gets down to it, like no trader is perfect and every trader learns from their mistakes. That's the biggest thing that I take away. I'm 25 years old. I've been trading since I was 20. Okay, so I'll be 26 in July. I'm going on 6 years of being exposed to the market, trading full time for 4 years, and throughout my experience, there's been a couple times when I made mistakes and I've learned from them. But I think that's the best thing that we can do as a human. When I lost that type of money, and that's a lot of money to really anybody, even myself still today, right now, like losing 50K is a good chunk of change, right? That's like a lot of money that you can go and invest and do something with, reinvest. But, um, you know, I tell myself now that it's better that it happened at the point that it did rather than the point when have, let's say $500,000 in my account or $1 million in my account. What if I was to lose like, double or quadruple what I had lost right there? So it was definitely a learning lesson for me. The moral of that learning lesson for me was to make sure I checked the economic calendar, because just the details on that basically real quick was that I took a short, I believe it was on, I don't remember if it was a short or a long, I don't remember, I think it was a short, but I took a short on like pound yen. It's a pound pair, I'm pretty sure it was pound yen, and it was a scalp. It was back when I was doing a lot of scalping, because I've traded, especially for those of you guys that have followed me, my journey with positive traders, of owning a company and owning a trading company over the past 3 years. You guys have seen even my own trading style change. Because if I were to tell you that, 3 years ago when I started Positive Traders, when I was 2 years into trading, that I knew everything, I don't, right? I didn't. I know, I can't even try to pretend that I knew everything 2 years ago, right? Even when I'm 2 years in, that's still a good amount of time, right? Was still profitable, still making money, but was very much so learning things and becoming better and figuring out what I prefer in my own trading style. So over the past 3 years, my trading style has definitely changed. But yeah, back when that happened, oh, you know what? Actually, was that 2 years ago now? Let's see. No. Yeah, that was early 2018 that happened. Yeah. Anyways, took a short on pound yen doing like a scalp. It was something very, very, very scalpy, like a 7 pip stop loss to make 20 pips or something like that. Very small stop loss. As I always do, I check the economic calendar before I take the trade. Now I don't. I rarely do any like small scalps like that. I'm more of like a position or swing trader. That's just the style of trading that I like to do now. However, at the time, obviously check the economic calendar before you jump in, and then didn't see any news, so I jumped into the trade. I had just landed in New Zealand though, coming from Australia, and it was a 3-hour time difference. And so I didn't see that there was actually some news coming out for the pound, which happened to be an interest rate decision for the pound. And so basically gapped through my stop loss, which is what's called slippage. And it's basically when the liquidity provider from the broker isn't able to fill your order. Just if you don't know what slippage is, just look it up. Something pretty, not super common, but in times of like high volatility, low liquidity type of market like that, with that specific style of trading with a scalping, slippage is pretty much inevitable with that situation, and yeah, ended up losing 18%. So even though I had a 2% stop loss, lost 18% on my account. So yeah, not a great time, but I'm an open book. I'm super transparent. I'm not here to hide anything from anybody. You know, I'll always tell everybody about my losses like that. They definitely suck, right? But they make you stronger, right? The biggest thing you can do from any loss is learn from it. Okay, so as long as you learn from a loss, it's just a learning experience. But yeah, that was to answer your question, Abdul. If I recovered that money, but that was so long ago. That was over a year ago. We're already in March of 2019, so yeah, that was over a year ago. And then okay, so then leave any questions you guys have in the chat. We're gonna start to finish this up, but I just kind of want to update you guys on AUD CAD and AUD NZD. Okay, some of my my veteran traders, veteran positive traders, those of you guys that are on these weekly outlooks pretty regularly. If you guys want an update on these two pairs that we've been covering for a couple of months now. Last week, because of the positive, I'm sorry, it was bad NZD news. Let's see, what was it last week? There's some news last week for the New Zealand dollar. That's what it was. Okay, so there was an interest rate decision that came out, but it wasn't that was bad for the New Zealand dollar. It was actually on Thursday when we saw the governor of New Zealand, or governor of the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, Governor Orr, spoke on the rate statement and just had a very negative outlook on the New Zealand dollar, and that caused the New Zealand dollar to tank at the end of last week. So we saw AUD NZD skyrocket. And if you guys have been following along for a while, since a month and a half now, for a while now, I've been bearish. I've been calling a sell on AUD NZD. Now I'm gonna be back to the sidelines with AUD NZD. I'm not super interested in this pair, especially because it's getting up to this trend line, or getting up to this major level of resistance. Naturally, it looks like this could just be another just a lower high that's being made, and then we might see just price action move lower. But I'm gonna sit on the sidelines. I've got plenty on my plate right now. When I look at my personal trading, because at the end of the day, that's what I'm here for, is my personal trading. I'm not, and I don't want you guys to take that in the wrong way. I don't want that to sound selfish. I'm here to do these for you guys and obviously give value. But my number one priority is obviously my making sure I profit, right? Because for me to live, for me to do the things that I want to do and have my lifestyle, I have to make money in the markets. Okay, so I do this. I trade for me. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not trying to force trades or push out a trade just to look cool or just to seem better. Trading, I'll tell you guys right now, trading is not a pissing contest. All right, if you compare yourself to somebody else, you're gonna have a hard time being successful. Okay, because I'm telling you right now, there's somebody that is always gonna be better at trading than you. Okay, I might be good at trading. I make a living off of trading. I make a very nice living and have a very nice lifestyle off of trading. But is there somebody that's better than me that makes maybe million, or not maybe, but definitely does make millions of dollars from trading, whereas I'm making six figures off of trading? Absolutely. But I'm not, I don't compare myself to them. I focus on my own journey, and I'm focusing on my own trading. So I guess the reason I'm saying that is because I look at my month already. I'm not interested in just trying to force a trade on a pair like AUD NZD, even though I've had an outlook on it, because I look at my month, I'm up 8% for the month. I'm doing great this month. Plus, I'm already in a trade that's at break even and up almost 2% already. So it's this year is going super well for me already. It's going in flying colors. So for me, it doesn't matter about the quantity of trades, because this is something I was telling my students on our Thursday webinar too, is if you actually look at how many trades I've taken this entire year, I've taken number of trades, forget where it is, trades, look, this year, number of trades, 16, okay, and then we have the current trade that we're in right now. I don't know if that includes the current trade that we're in, because it shows the in trading activity. Let's just let's just be conservative and let's say it does. So I've taken 16 trades this entire year. Okay, so in like 90 days, I've taken 60 or 16 trades. To some of you guys, that probably seems like impossible because you're taking 16 trades like a week, because as soon as the markets open on a Sunday, you're rushing to your computer, your cell phone, and you don't even care what you get into. You just want to feel that rush of being in a trade, so you just enter a trade. So, to some of you guys, that might seem impossible, only taking 16 trades this year. And I'll tell you guys right now, like, just to give you some hope, if that's you, that if you would have come to me 4 years ago and said, David, the way you're going to be profitable long term and the way you're going to end up making a living long term with trading is by taking, 5 trades a month, I would have said no way. Like, there's no way, because I got such an enjoyment. There was a time and a place when I like solely took trades, like just because I got an excitement behind taking trades. Like, now, like, trading to me is almost like boring, and I know that sounds kind of bad. I'm obviously very passionate about it. It pays my bills. It's how I make a living. But it's not something that, I mean, I don't want you guys to take that in the wrong way. I'll just kind of keep it there because it is something that I get excited for. Like, I mean, obviously on Sundays when the market's open, I'm excited because it's a new week, that type of thing. It's exciting to be in trades, but there's a fine line between excitement and excitement that pushes you to take a trade, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm still obviously very excited. Like, I feel so blessed and humble to like be, in a time period, like to think if I was alive even 15 years ago, I never would have had this opportunity, right, to even like do this. Or even let's say my parents, like being in my parents' shoes when my parents are a kid, that they never had this type of opportunity to be able to like make a lifestyle and a very nice income and lifestyle off of a computer just because you put in a little bit of time and effort and you have the ability to, like, that's what excites me. It's not actually getting into the actual trade and seeing the numbers on the screen go up and down that excites me. Like, that doesn't excite me. One way to train yourself too, just to add a little bit of a tip if you want, but inside MetaTrader 4, what I would do is I would close this terminal. Okay, so the terminal at the bottom that shows your balance and how much profit you're in and how many pips you're up and that type of thing. If you have a hard time focusing too much on like the money and not on the process, just hide it. Don't even trade with that. Just focus on what goes on the market. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Sorry to go over. I didn't mean to rant for too long. Just kind of want to give you my thoughts. So this is like the epitome of a professional trading, in my opinion, guys. This is how you make a full-time income. Like, you want to make a full-time income trading. Well, then the things that I talk about on these webinars, these strategies, these skills, this mindset, you have to get down. Okay, you have to get down. You have to get down. Okay, and I'm not saying like all months are going to be super slow like this, right? Some months we might take the amount of trades I've taken this month. Sometimes I might take an entire week. Okay. Or sometimes the amount of trades I've taken this entire year, I might take an entire month, right? Sometimes we'll take like 15 trades in an entire month. It all just depends on the month. So I don't focus ever on like the quantity of trades. If you guys want like the biggest tip, it's probably, I mean, there's so many tips, right? That sounds like cliche when I say the biggest, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, just a really good tip for you is that stop focusing on the quantity of trades. Stop like taking a trade. Like, I challenge each and every one of you guys, try to go an entire week without taking a trade. Okay? Try. Like, actually try. Like, because you have to discipline yourself. You have to discipline yourself to not take trades. Okay? Because if you overtrade, you're gonna lose money long term, because you might have some winning trades, but then you're gonna cut into your profits by taking too many trades. Okay, you have to know when to like relax and pause and slow down. Like this month alone, for me and my students, there was about a week and a half period, almost 2 week period, where we didn't take a single trade. Like a week and a half. Yet, but it's so crazy to think about that perspective wise, because when we get to the end of 2019 and me and my students and all of my clients, and we're looking back at our returns for the year of 2019, we're going to look back and we're going to say, wow, March was a really good month, because it's, obvious we're at 8% right now and the month is closing tomorrow, right? And depending on how this trade goes, it could either be like literally worst case scenario is March closes off exactly where it is right now, which is an 8% month. Best case scenario is the USD CAD trade that I'm in right now continues to drop tonight throughout the London session, closes and hits my take profit. I make 2% on or 3% on, and then I close the month off of 10% or 11%. Either way, even the worst case scenario, closing this month off at 8%, me and my students, my clients, we're going to look back this year and we're going to say, okay, March was an amazing month because that was an above average month, because I aim to make about 3.5% a month. That's what I like to make. So I'm more than double towards my goal this month. Yet I'm also gonna. What's funny is at the same time I'm gonna probably look back at the end of 2019 and say, wow, March was one of my slowest months also. Okay, funny how that works. That you can make more profits by taking less trades. But I always say that, right? I always literally say that it's quality over quantity. And some of you guys like don't care, right? Some of you guys just like don't care. You just want to take a trade. You want to feel that rush, right? Like some of you guys are like aren't traders. You're like gambling addicts, right? You're addicted to that feeling of wanting to be like feel that rush, like straight up. Like I'm just calling it how it is. Like some of you guys are like that at the end of the day. Like you just want to be in a trade just because you want to make some quick money, right? No other than it's the exact same feeling of going out and throwing money on like the roulette table and feeling that quick rush because you want to try to get rich quick, right? It's literally that exact same rush. So you have to cut back. You have to like completely remove that feeling and discipline yourself to removing that feeling and that urge to do that. And use the position size calculator. Be patient in between trades. Know that it's okay to go a week, 2 weeks between taking trades. Yet you can still be profitable, okay? I'm telling you guys right now, I've been doing these webinars, been running Positive Traders, been in the public eye as a trader for 3 years now, okay? And I've been preaching this for literally 3 years. Although my strategies have changed, okay, or maybe the way, not even really the way I analyze, but just maybe the way I approach the market. So I guess you could say analysis to an extent. But even 3 years ago, you go and scroll to one of my weekly outlooks from 3 years ago here on my YouTube channel. I've always preached that the way to make money and the way to make a living is by risk management, right? Is by good risk management. And you guys should see that. Like my lifestyle should be a direct reflection of that, right? If it didn't work, then I think my lifestyle would be a direct reflection of it not working. Okay? So follow what works, right? And just to get onto like that mentorship tip for a minute, like so many of you guys want to be good at trading. Like you guys claim to want to be good at trading, but you aren't following the actual traders, right? You aren't emulating the actual traders. Right? Are you looking, you have to ask yourself, are you just looking for a way to get rich quick? Like are you looking for just a way to make money? Right? Or do you actually like care about trading? Okay? Because if you're just looking to make money, there's a million things that you can do. Okay? Trading is just one of them. Okay? But if you actually have a passion for trading, then you need to be like biblically following people that are making a living from trading, okay? So yeah, that's just my little mindset thing with trading, my little mindset rant with trading for the week. I hope you guys all have a great week with trading. Looks like the chat has been a little bit quiet today. Not a lot in the chat. Looks like everybody has everything answered. But oh yeah, and just kind of where I was going with that point is, so I've been doing this for 3 years, guys, and I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought for a second. And I'll still be here, guys. Like I don't plan on going anywhere. Okay, like I am not going anywhere. Okay, like this is the way I eat. This is the way I make a living. Okay, this is my lifestyle. Even if I have a passion for branching out and doing other things. Like I want to be a true definition of like a serial entrepreneur. Okay, like my dream is to build like multiple businesses and eventually like sell those businesses to like, but have like a portion of the company, et cetera, et cetera, and in all different like areas, right? I want to like do real estate. I'm sure there's going to be, as I get older and technology changes and the world changes, there's going to be like new industries and different things to capitalize on. So I'm trying to get into like a bunch of different things, but I'm never going to forget where it started and what changed my lifestyle and what gave me the ability to do these things, which is trading Forex. So, and I'm always going to keep giving back value, guys. Like I love doing these weekly outlooks because it's fun getting on here and talking to you guys, even though it doesn't even really feel like I'm talking to myself, even though I technically am. I feel like I'm really here like interacting with you guys and helping with you guys, and I constantly get berated with messages from you guys of how valuable these webinars. Even a couple weeks ago when I considered making these webinars like shorter instead of longer, you guys should have seen I got so many dozens of messages from you guys saying how you prefer, you get so much value out of the longer ones. And I prefer doing the longer ones. Like I don't like doing them all rushed. I like just kind of speaking what's on my mind and being real with you guys. Because a lot of traders aren't going to be real with you guys. They aren't going to keep it real with you guys, and the only thing that I say is like it might not always be exciting, right? But I'll keep it real with you guys. Okay, I'm not going to like hype things up. Okay, so I'm still going to be here in another 3 years preaching the same thing, still making a living off of the same thing by having good risk management, using just using good risk management and just low risk. That's what it's all about, guys. That's the only way you're going to be profitable long term. Only way. All right, so I'm going to leave it right there. We've been on here for about an hour already. We have a couple questions on here, a couple stuff real quick. I'll hit this. Elevate Trading, you ask thoughts on GBP AUD. I can pull it up really quickly. Pound Australian dollar, GBP AUD. GBP AUD looks pretty corrective, okay? Like you obviously see I just had to search for this pair and put it up, and I don't have any markings on this pair, so I naturally don't trade this pair, but just from price action right now, you can see there's been a strong rejection at the highs, and it's picking up a little bit of momentum to the downside. You can see that this is a little bit of like an accumulation phase right here. Distribution. So you might be moving into a markdown phase. So I would be short on GBP AUD. Simon, you said maybe a short overview on Euro GBP. Maybe a short overview on Euro GBP. Okay. So going into Euro GBP, before I even talk about Euro GBP very quickly, let me mention that if you don't have this correlation written down in your trading journal, you definitely should. And again, if you have like a section in your trading journal marked off with correlations, like your correlation section, okay? You should definitely have like the strongest correlation by far, like in the one that is like basically like a guaranteed correlation where they always do the opposite of each other, is Euro USD to the US dollar index, okay? Always, always, always. Euro USD goes down, dollar index goes up, okay? There's like no dispute. Like any time frame, those are going to look the same. And then there's a lot of other correlations that just have strong correlations, okay? Which means obviously they aren't always going to have that correlation that we talk about, okay? And that is true for Euro GBP and pound dollar, okay? That's what I'm trying to say is, so if you don't already know, pound dollar and Euro GBP tend to have a negative correlation to each other, okay? So what I would expect to see right here, like I haven't even really looked at pound dollar on this webinar at all, but what I would expect to see is that if we look at Euro GBP right now, and we just look at the overall structure, is from the recent highs, I guess not recent, but from highs The past couple months, we've dropped lower, had a little bit of a correction, dropped lower, and then the past month, basically, we've just been consolidating around these lows. So I would expect to go to pound dollar and probably see it move up and then a correction lower and then up higher and then now correcting at highs. So let's see. So we see it moves up, corrects a little lower, up, and then is consolidating around the highs. Okay. So obviously, it's one of those things where the charts aren't going to look the exact opposite of each other, like Euro USD and the dollar index does, because there's different currencies pulling each pair. Like this, you have the euro, and this one you have the US dollar, obviously, but they tend to have a negative correlation. Okay, so knowing that, what I would like to do if I get asked my opinion on Euro GBP, I will naturally go and take a look at the pound dollar. Okay. And that's what I do with like a lot of pairs. If somebody asks me, or if even I'm just curious in my head, what's my opinion on Euro USD? Well, then I'm naturally usually going to go and look at things like the dollar index. Okay. So pound dollar, it does look a little bit bearish right now. I also mentioned pound yen looked bearish. If you remember earlier in today's webinar, in the stream, I mentioned that pound yen looks bearish. And usually pound yen and pound dollar tend to have a positive correlation, and you can actually see that. I think you can see the price action is pretty, have a pretty strong relationship to each other, right? You can see this is the daily chart with the two. They are very similar. So naturally, if pound yen continues to go lower, pound dollar should continue to go lower. So if that's kind of what my bias is leading, which I mean it is, so I'm expecting pound dollar to go lower, then naturally I'm going to expect Euro GBP probably to continue going higher, okay? And for those of you guys that remember, Simon, I know you're probably asking because I know you've been around for a while, Simon, and you've definitely been one of those students that have like been on these or you're not even a student, but just like a member that is on these weekly outlooks and pays attention to everything that I say, and that a couple weeks ago, back in the middle of February, I called a short on Euro GBP, and I said that if it broke this major level of support, which also happened to be the 23.6% retracement level, that it would probably crash down lower to the next support level, which also happened to be the 38.2% retracement level of this major swing, right? We're talking like 2015 lows to 2017 highs. So this is like a major swing. And it's pretty much made it there, right? I mean, it hasn't fully made it down there, but it pretty much made it down to these lows. And it is showing a little bit of signs of bottoming, right? It's got a triple bottom in this area. You can actually see like the 3 points to this bottom. It's got some bouncing in this area. So that's what I would say, Simon. I would expect Euro GBP probably to struggle at these lows to go lower and probably find a little bit of a bounce in this area. Nicholas, you said, do you use any systems? Maybe if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, Nicholas. I mean, trading system as far as like a strategy, like a checklist that I go through, or like or systems as in like, do I rely on like a expert indicator, like an actual like thing on the chart, like based on algorithms that tells me to buy or sell? So maybe I'll give you a second to ask that, and then you'll also ask Nicholas, do I back test at all? Well, I have back tested before. I mean, now I'm to a point where the way I trade, I only occasionally tweak a couple little things, or not even a couple, like tweak one thing here and there. But my strategy, the way I've been trading, has been the same for so many years now that the way, like, back testing, I guess for me, wouldn't really make a lot of sense because the way I trade, well, because the way I trade works. That's just the way to put it. And the way I trade, has more to do based off of like market manipulation and structure. That's like inevitable. Like we know that, like I guess what I'm trying to say is like let's take a bear trap, for example, or a spring, right? Which could either be a bull or a bear trap, right? Which is basically a fake out, right? We know that the markets are never going to stop doing that, right? The market makers are never going to stop faking people out. The market makers are never going to stop manipulating the markets. So because we know that, once you can identify how manipulation works, once you can identify how the markets are manipulated, then there's nothing else really that you need to back test, right? Once you know manipulation, then you're good. Okay. I mean, but as far as like back testing certain things, I mean, I don't personally backtest anymore. There may be something that I want to backtest in the future, and there's things I've backtested in the past. But yeah, no, I mean, I feel confident with this. I mean, I have a track record to prove it that I feel extremely confident with the strategy that I use. Simon, yeah, around 3 weeks, a month ago. Yep, about 3 weeks to a month ago. Yep, so yeah, that was the webinar that I talked about Euro GBP moving lower. Nicholas said a strategy that's been back tested. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's. I'm not trying to rain on your parade, Nicholas. But I mean, it's just that's just kind of an ambiguous question in my opinion, because I mean, you're asking if I have a strategy, and I'm a professional trader. You know what I mean? And I make a living from trading, like kind of obviously, right? Like I have to have a strategy, but if you're asking what is my strategy, well, you know, we're here on a Sunday Outlook, just going over the markets for the Sunday Outlook. You know, I'm not, that stuff is reserved for my students. I'm not here to go over. I mean, I could literally. I mean, that's what my course is for. That's what like 20 plus hours on my course is for. You know, I can't simply describe my strategy in a couple minutes here, but to answer your question, yes, I definitely trade with a strategy. I definitely have a specific strategy and a set of steps that I follow before I enter a position that I look for. Essentially, like a checklist that I look for, and as long as all of those requirements and everything on that checklist is met, then I take the position. J Star, Jeremy, very nice to see you in here. It's been a while. Hey, when you deposited with Bitcoin and FX Choice, does it go into your fiat account? I have never deposited into to FX Choice with Bitcoin yet. They just recently removed that option, so I've made a withdrawal through Bitcoin, but I have not made a deposit through Bitcoin yet to FX Choice. But I'm assuming it does. I know, I mean, the Bitcoin withdrawal and deposits with FX Choice is extremely smooth. That was actually I actually did my first Bitcoin withdrawal since they removed wire options for U.S. residents, and I was actually really surprised. I almost was asking myself why I even did wire transfers in the past, because it was so fast. But yeah, regardless, it should work no problem. And Jeremy, FX Choice has seriously awesome live chat, like really great support. I'm sure that they can help you also on their homepage. Gabe says it goes into a Bitcoin wallet. Oh, good to see so many students on here. It goes to Bitcoin wallet within FX Choice, and then you do an internal transfer from your Bitcoin wallet to your specific FX account. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Super smooth. All right, guys. So that's pretty much it. Definitely, I really enjoy these little bit more casual webinars. Not a whole lot of structure. I just kind of feel like I'm almost in like a small group talking to you guys. Don't really think that there's anything else that I want to talk about. I'm really stoked to see how my USD CAD trade plays out. Students, all of you guys should be in this trade. Obviously, if you're connected to my trade copier, you're automatically in this trade already. But that's going to be it, guys. Any other questions? No problem, man. No problem. Jeremy, no problem. Thank you. Okay, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. I don't think I need to drag today's webinar on any longer. I think you guys have the gist. I think you guys have the value out of today. So just a quick recap for anybody that's catching the tail end of this. My main value for right now, I mean, really, I don't really have a ton. I wish I know that this was over an hour today, but I don't really have like a ton of like, okay, this is the one specific pair. Like sometimes I do that I'm looking at, so I apologize, but I am interested in pound yen. I do kind of want to see what pound yen does. I think taking a potential short on pound yen looks nice. Obviously, I'm in a short on USD CAD. I'm going to continue to watch that trade and see how we do with that. But that's pretty much it. The rest of the pairs that we had marked off was more so just kind of acknowledging the price action on them and acknowledging what happens at this area. And I will say this with the dollar index. I think I might have already said this, but I just want to reinforce this, that with the dollar index, the tone, okay, because remember at the beginning of this webinar, I said basically the dollar index has one of two scenarios from here, okay? That it's either going to, just like it has multiple times over the past couple of months, find resistance at these highs, and it's just going to go back to the lows again, which would drag Euro USD up higher. So that's option A. Or option B, it's going to break this resistance, and we're going to start to see the dollar index rally, and at which case we're going to go back to that long term. Some of you guys probably have forgotten by now, or maybe some of you guys, probably have just forgotten, but you guys remember this inverted head and shoulders? Okay, here we go, this crazy inverted head and shoulders. Now, this has gotten very complex because there's almost like it's gotten a little weird, right? What do we want to call it? Like a hunchback of Notre Dame type thing, right? Because it's got like two right shoulders now, because we had that right shoulder initially, and then we broke lower, and then now we're back up to this. And if we break back up to these highs, then we're back to this neckline, right? Back to this trend line, which is going to be an interesting spot. So, but just what I mean to say by all that is I think we're definitely going to find out this week what the dollar index is going to do. And I think we'll probably find out early on as well. Maybe not, because keep in mind that we have non-farm payrolls on Friday as well, so we may tend to see the market stay in consolidation, waiting for the NFP to be a catalyst. But I think that's going to just really set the tone this week for the dollar. So watch the dollar index. You should definitely always have the dollar index on your chart and just like be watching it. And if we do get that resistance, if we do get that reversal pattern in this area, then look for Euro USD to go start moving back up, keep going back up. That would be really good for USD CAD as well. That would help push USD CAD lower and lower. But then if we see the dollar index just continue to rally from here, then that just means that Euro USD is just going to continue to tank. But naturally, let's just think naturally, right? Let's just think like logically for a second. And the markets don't always move logically. So that's why, that's why we use good risk management. Is if you look at history and you look how the markets have been, Euro USD doesn't tend to have a lot more in it going past, like, what is it dropped right now? Like 220 pips about. Like, it tends to have these like 200 to 250 pip spurts of movement in either direction, and then it tends to just like stop. So I really wouldn't be surprised. Like neither scenario on Euro USD is really going to surprise me at this point, because if it bounces, well, I'm just going to say, okay, well, that makes sense, because we've seen, like I said, a lot of like 200 to 250 pip drops to the downside, and then it just bounces back up again. And then if it continues to drop, well, the price action on the weekly, suggested price action moving lower. So you can almost see that almost right there, that like 20-second explanation is almost the epitome of why Forex is so difficult, is because you can almost make an argument in any situation that of why to buy or sell, or why this happened, why that happened, and why, hindsight is always 2020, and everybody is always like, oh, I'm the best trader because I saw, oh, if I would have taken this, like, no, you aren't a good trader unless you can prove it. You have it on paper that you can like prove that you're profitable. But yeah, I mean, that's why that's like the epitome right there of why trading is so difficult, because you can look at some time frames and say, oh, I want, this looks really good to sell, and then other time frames it looks really good to buy. And that's why I tend to stay out of the market so much. I mean, that's a perfect example why in March I took 4 trades. It's because trading, understanding the markets I always say this, that it's simple but complex at the same time. Like, it's complex because there's a lot that you have to like remember, right? Like, I have to remember the correlation to everything. I have to remember where price action was. I have to remember like the manipulation on that specific pair. Some pairs have the manipulation is a little bit different on some pairs other than other pairs. But yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling, guys. I think you guys get the picture with everything. I think you guys get the value. I appreciate all your guys' time. Giovanni said just missed it, got off work. All right, Giovanni, no problem. I would just watch the replay. It'll render pretty quickly for you guys. But I appreciate you guys getting here. As usual, please do me a huge favor, guys. If you've made it this far in the video, give the video a thumbs up, please. At least thumbs up, okay? It's going to help the YouTube algorithm get this out to more people, and that's what we want it to do. All right, so please just show that little bit of gratitude with a like. That is all I ask. And other than that, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. There's still a couple of spots left, so I'm currently accepting a couple of students into the lifetime membership. So I've reopened the lifetime membership temporarily to Positive Traders. I have about 3 spots left. So if you guys if you're listening to this and you want to take your trading to the next level, you want to learn about manipulation, you want to be a part of me and my students, my community of traders, where we're actually teaching it real, keeping it real with you, doing a webinar literally 4 times a week, every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of every week. I'm hopping on live with you guys, working hands-on with you guys, basically working on with you. Pretty much feels one-on-one because it's on a daily basis, mentoring you, answering your questions, going over the charts, being really like intimate in the charts with you guys. That's really where it's at, honestly. I love going over the charts with my students so much. Sometimes we take a live trade. In fact, actually, USD CAD was a live trade. We took that trade live on our Thursday webinar, matter of fact. So yeah, we definitely do our live trading and all sorts of fun stuff. Let's see if we have any stuff. Jeremy says lifetime for the win. Yeah, I actually see, it doesn't show me all the people that are in here, but from the people that have commented, there's a bunch of lifetime members and students in here. I see a lot of you guys in here, so really cool to see all you guys in here being so supportive. But yeah, if you have any other questions like that, feel free to post them in Telegram, the Telegram chat room if you guys want, or message me on social media, whatever floats your boat. But other than that, I'll see you guys on, students, I'll see you guys tomorrow on the first daily webinar of the week. Everybody else, I'll see you on next week's Weekly Outlook. And have a great week trading, guys. Take care, everybody.